portfolios. So I feel like there's a lot of information out here in these internet streets about portfolios and how to build them. And I feel like when we get online, we're trying to find people that have opinions that we can relate to. So I'm not sure who's going to see this or who can relate to this opinion of mine, but I'm just going to share with you my experience, not so much opinions, but just what I've been through, what I've seen in the corporate world and in my own journey and walk as a graphic designer, photographer, somebody who's been in the creative industry and have worked for over 140 something brands, and what I went through and what I wish I would have learned. So, portfolios. When we hear portfolios, we think this online thing. Originally, traditionally, you would carry your physical portfolio as an artist showing your art. When I was finishing college, we still had physical portfolios. Went to Michael's, bought me like that fancy portfolio. I matted art on a black board showing projects and stuff that I had done in college. And usually when we were creating portfolios, it's using our college assignments. And to me, that's kind of where I went wrong. And not that that's an opinion, but that's actually like what happened to me. So when you're a senior at the university I went to, so I earned my bachelor's in fine arts. So at the end of your last semester, you are creating a body of work. So you're putting together the whole body of work that you did through your college career, and you're taking the best art that you created, which usually is probably from that semester or the semester prior, because you've grown as a creative. And so you're putting the body of work together. Since I was earning my bachelor's in fine arts, there was quite a bit of stuff in this portfolio, from paintings, from oils, watercolor, sketches, pictures of sculptures, photography. It was a whole big thing, which made sense, right? Like putting that together for the degree, because we were doing like an exit presentation, and we had to get in front of our class and our professors and do this whole slideshow presentation of talking about ourselves as artists, which again, all makes sense for fine arts. However, when you're somebody that's going into a specialty like graphic design, photography, interior design, videography, anything like that, this is kind of where it just went off to the left for me. Whenever I started applying for jobs, I did take out some of the fine arts, but I left some of it just to kind of like beef up my portfolio. In my mind, I was showing that I knew how to draw, that I knew color theory. And so that's where I messed up. I'll never forget, I was applying for a position, and there was this one position in particular that I really wanted, and they didn't call me back. And most places I actually got interviews for. So I knew that there was something in my portfolio or in my resume, because I was getting callbacks and I was getting interviews. But it wasn't until this moment that I finally realized maybe this is why they weren't hiring me. And this piece of advice actually helped me so much that I believe whenever I did fix it, that is what got me my job. That is what got me into the industry, because I took what she said and implemented, and then began to reapply again. And then when I got the interview, then I started getting the job proposals. So there was this job that I wanted really bad, to work in a particular company as an advertising agency. Now, like I said, I was really surprised that I didn't get an interview. So I emailed the creative director and was like, is there a reason why I didn't even get like an interview? And I was, I tried, of course, was very respectful and was like, I just want to learn. I earned, got the degree, did the internships, and I just want to know if there's something that I could do to be better, or just to figure out where maybe it went wrong. So I was very grateful. She actually replied, and she told me, she was like, the work that you have is really good, but I don't know if you're a graphic designer, a photographer, or a fine artist, because you have all these different things in your portfolio. And so I was like, huh. And, she then goes on to tell me, if you're wanting just to do graphic design needs to be your main focus. And maybe, you could have one or two things, but like your main focus on your portfolio needs to be the job that you want, what industry you're getting into. So I took that advice, and that's what I began to do. I began to change my portfolio so that it would better reflect what I want to be. this is probably like the biggest piece of advice that I could give anybody that's working with a portfolio. Now, here's kind of where my opinion comes in, because you could do this two ways. A portfolio is to show like a body of work that you've done. That is a true portfolio. You're showing the work that you've done as a creative. Now, in today's industry, I feel like the environment has changed quite a bit for us as creative service providers. I've even had this conversation with like another friend of mine who is a designer and photographer. And we were going over his portfolio, and he was talking to me about like he wanted to get into this certain type of field, but his portfolio was showing something way different. Like it didn't even touch on what he was talking about. So it had like mostly photography, but he wanted to get into the food industry. Like let's say you're working on a portfolio and you have product photography for ceramics, but you want to get into like makeup and cosmetics, right? Well, if I go to your portfolio as somebody, as a creative director looking for a certain type of creative to come help my company in the cosmetic field, and I'm only seeing ceramics, it's like, it doesn't look like she has that. I feel like a lot of us as creatives, of course, we're showing the work that we've done, but my opinion is that your portfolio should show the work that you want to get into. Even if it's your own case studies, even if it's, brands that you are making up so that you could study and create certain visuals that show that you have this type of eye. I mean, it's still experience because you still had to build it. It might not be actual corporate experience, but you have the experience of how to create a campaign or how to create, assets and things for your industry. Now, this is where you have to be careful, because if you come from a corporate background and you're creating a portfolio, you have to be careful to make sure you have permission from the companies that you worked for. So if you have a portfolio, you have to mention on there, you have to make sure you have permission showing that this is work that you have done for past brands, but this, like, you can't put offers on there. You can't be like, this is how much I charge for this or that, because now that's not a portfolio. Now that's a creative service website. So some of my suggestions on building a portfolio. If you're building a portfolio to get certain jobs or putting yourself out here so that you could work for certain brands or companies, the work that you should have on your portfolio should be the work that you're inspired to get into. So like if you have a photography background, but you're wanting to do product photography for a t-shirt company, then start taking pictures of t-shirts, even making mock-ups, right? Making mock-ups that you can show that you have this drive and this passion to do this type of thing. Even if you want to work with a print company to design t-shirts, do these things. Don't wait until, you get that job. Begin doing it now so that you're walking in it. They can see, okay, they know what they're doing. Yes, let me go ahead and bring them in. So that's my biggest, I would say, advice for when you're building a portfolio. Make sure that you're building a portfolio that you want to get into that industry. Now, personally, I actually have two. I have a creative service website, which has the projects that I've done, the case studies and stuff, the actual final like brand deliverables that I've created for some of my clients, because that shows the work that we're doing. And then that also has offers, prices, things like that. And then personally, because I've been doing this for so long, I have something that I now call an archive portfolio, and that's a private portfolio. I'm not going to say it all, like I have 17 years worth of work in my archive portfolio, and I've got different like things that you can see. I've got like corporate work, I have independent work, and then I have like illustration and photography. And so this is just to kind of show them that I have like this huge area that I can work in and do different things, because the creative service website doesn't have all of that. It just has like more of the branding, website, social media content, things like this. That is something that you could do as well. You could have an archive portfolio. And so that archive portfolio would be some of the best work that you've done, maybe when you were in the corporate world. But again, it's private because not everybody can see it. And because I'm also making sure that I'm protecting the past brands that I've worked for and protecting myself too, right? Because I never want to get in any type of trouble that I'm like promoting other companies because they hired me to go work for them. Just making sure that you're careful with stuff like that. So, and to me, that's the difference between a portfolio and a creative service website, right? Your portfolio should be more private and like to use to get, a job or to get your career with another company. And then your creative service is like if you're a freelancer and you have your offers on there, you have examples of work that you've done for other freelance clients, things like that. I would say my biggest takeaway from this is making sure that you're creating a portfolio that is putting you in a position where you want to go and where you want to be as a creative service provider. And that, again, that's with videography, photography, all of that stuff. Also, too, if you're a creative, multimedia, put all of it in there, and you can have it all work together too. So you could like have a brand, you can show like the branding structure that you created, logo, colors, fonts, all of that. And then you can show how you bring that into social media, into videography, into photography. And that is how I would build it. Like I wouldn't separate it out. Like I would have a brand and then a little paragraph explaining all the mediums that you used to build this brand and talking about how you were the you were the director of all of these things and how you put it all together. And so you would have maybe I would have like 4 to 8 brands, minimum of 4, max of 8. I wouldn't go over that because then it gets like too much. And then having small summary descriptions of what all like the assets that you built, everything that you created for said brand, even if it's a case study, showing your abilities and what you can do. So even if it's just 2, even if you're like a logo designer and brand photographer, then just show that, right? Just show how you can use these 2 types of skills to create like this brand flow. Yeah, so to me, portfolio has been on my heart quite a bit just because I feel like we have a lot of amazing, super amazing, like talented people out here online. Just, I get it. Like you're like, okay, I know I need to build a portfolio, and you get in front of that computer and you have all this stuff. I mean, even if you building last year, you know what I mean, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, you have all this content that you've done and you're like, yay. And I will say this too, because I've had a creative before where he told me that he had a background working for other brands, but didn't have a portfolio. So that was kind of hard for me to like continue with him because it's like, I need the evidence. Like I need to see what you're capable of doing. So portfolios are very important because it shows the evidence of what you can do as a creative. Even if you feel like maybe that's not like your best work, it's still a starting place. So also making sure that like if you built, because you are constantly growing as a creative, so making sure that you keep updating them. Like I have multiple portfolios. Like I said, I feel like I have one on Adobe portfolio, which is awesome too. If you have Adobe, it's free. Like you just set it up and you don't have, you know what I mean? Like use your resources. And then I have a creative service website, which is like a portfolio. It shows the work on Squarespace. And then, yeah, I think my archive portfolio too. You have archive portfolio, which is password protected, is also on Adobe portfolio. So, and then I've also even there was this one marketing company that I was with. I was like helping her grow, and she kind of needed like a portfolio to show like clients like what we could do. And I even built one on there for her. So you can have like a multiple or ways to show your work on Adobe and then even have a domain for it. So like I mean, I feel like sometimes we get in our heads about like, oh, I need a website, I need all this. Adobe portfolio is there for you. Putting your work out there too as a creative on Behance, on Dribble, DRI. There's 3 B's, LE. That's a great place. I love going there to kind of get inspiration and stuff as a creative. And of course, always looking at other like higher brands just as inspiration. So yeah, on my heart today was portfolios. Portfolios. If you're needing any help at any time, make sure you get into my Creative Foundations group. I have like a community that I have started and I'm always there to answer questions. I like pop in. I'm not there like all the time, but like I'll pop in and just to like if I have something exciting that I'm like experiencing or going through or seeing online, like I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm in there sharing. So make sure to get into that. So if you go to my website, www.candicedmadrid.com, like I have some resources there too. I'm trying to build more. I am very grateful. I have an amazing, creative agency. So I'm working on that on top of then trying to create, resources because I get it. I've been there. And that's really my heart too, is just to help creatives because I feel like it's so hard when we feel like we want to do this, but we're like, how? Who do we talk to? So I am somebody that is here to help you in any way when it comes to being a creative service provider, and putting yourself out here and how to show your work and just building. Always here if you need a creative friend. But yeah, that's what I have for you today. We're going to anchor this episode into 1 Peter 4:10. It says, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. So it is your duty as an amazing, skillful creative to use your great skills to help serve other people. And by showing your amazing skills is building an amazing portfolio. So, all right, I will talk to you next week. Bye.